YouTube. Why not? Make it work if you can. And what do we got here today? Let's see. Automation Part 2. Is AppleScripts even worth learning anymore? DJI mic test. Kind of disappointed. The lottery. Have you read this? And Trudeau and Xi meet? Oh, what's going on here? It's Thursday, November 17th, 2022. I'm Steven Sersky, folks. I hope you're doing well. And yes, I am broadcasting from Beijing, China, and I am Canadian. So these two words, these two facts they're not colliding. I don't think they're causing an issue for anyone, really. Yeah, not at all. But certainly my birth nation is in the news again with China alongside it because Xi Jinping has been scolded Justin Trudeau, who is the Prime Minister of Canada, for leaking previous notes about a prior meeting. You know, there is a guy I follow on Twitter that kind of has pointed out that China likes to criticize a lot of other people and point out the faults. But then when you kind of point the finger back at China about like, well, what about this? They kind of get really whiny about stuff. And I'm not going to lie, it's like, it's almost getting tiring. Now, third election for the powers that be. Okay. But and I'm reading these articles on CBC and The Guardian. They all kind of agree that, Trudeau getting scolded like this is kind of it's supposed to be symbolic in that China and Xi Jinping thinks that they can scold Canada and get away with it, basically. They wouldn't do it to Joe Biden. They wouldn't do it to Putin. They wouldn't do it to Trump. They wouldn't do it to Emmanuel Macron, who he also met with. But, a 10-minute talk in a crowded room, and he feels the need to scold Canada this way. This follows a couple of years after Meng Wanzhou was held in Vancouver in a very nice home for several years on whatever charges they got for violating sanctions, which a lot of people, even then, China had said, oh, well, Canada's, acting like the dog of the United States. Well, again, they point fingers, yet the finger comes back, and they're like, whoa, 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 you don't know China. You don't know us. 5,000 years of history, and yet there seems to be, some blips along the way. Let's put it that way. I don't know, this Trudeau basically said, well, we have a free press, and if you don't like it, you'll have to deal with it, sort of thing. So this is almost like when Donald Trump, he at the very beginning of Donald Trump's presidency, he used to take world leaders by the hand and sort of pull them towards them. You probably heard about this. You probably saw it as well. He tried to do it to Trudeau, and Trudeau resisted. And this, Canadian media went on about this. They're like, wow, whoa, look at that. Trudeau stands up to Trump. Now, in that time, Trump is gone. Trudeau grew a beard. He's now shaved it again for some reason. And now he's getting lectured by Xi Jinping for not leaking media, or not leaking meeting notes to the media. I don't know. It just seems like one of these things where you're kind of like, really? You're getting after them? Okay, so you're making a scene. Gotcha. But honestly, what does it really mean? Moving on. Automation Part 2. So yesterday I was talking about these automation scripts that I was working on with the MacBook Pro, in that it seems like it's possible, but at the same time there are a few things that are holding me back from fully implementing an automated workflow using Audacity. And it does seem as if what's happening here is that Audacity, or it's AppleScripts, doesn't always run as a service for some programs, and Audacity seems to be one of those programs that it won't run on. So the question becomes, and the problem becomes, like whether or not I will be able to get any, either an AppleScript, a JavaScript, or a Python script to run on my computer to click the necessary buttons that I need to automate the workflow. Now, the other thing I had to do actually was check to make sure that this macro that I was running, because what I was trying to do here, I could get the folder at it, and then it would open up Audacity, import the file, and then wait for my direction. So I could do that. That was good enough. Now, applying the macros, I had to actually check to make sure that the macros were applying properly and in the right order, and I don't think they were. So I guess maybe this is the computer's way of telling me that, slow down there, Stevie. You got to make sure that this macro is running properly, because it doesn't seem to be thinking as much as it should as when I apply the same effects and filters on my own. So meaning that when the macro runs, it seems to work very quickly, but then I look at the wave files and the waveforms, and I go, I don't know if it's doing what I think it should be doing. So I'm going to go step by step on my own, and sure enough, the waveforms were a little bit different. So all that being said, it's actually, again, because I'm still running, I think it's Catalina, can't remember, a few versions ago. Mac OS Ventura is the latest one, but I think Apple might actually be deprecating AppleScripts. They might not be getting rid of it just yet. An automator, I mean, I've seen these posts come up every now and then where they sort of are insinuating that AppleScripts automator is going to be pushed away by way of the shortcuts function, which you can find on the iOS, which is the iPad and the iPhone operating systems. Whether or not it will be deprecated right away, like a cold turkey sort of thing, like, whatever happens after Ventura or something, they'll just cut it out sort of thing, or it'll be slowly deprecated over time. I don't know. I guess learning Swift wouldn't be a bad thing, because that seems to be where Apple is sort of moving itself, and that it is going towards this, like Swift is a proprietary coding format based on the Mac environment, but I don't think it's a lot easier to use than something like AppleScripts. So it's targeted at the broader sort of programming based broader population, rather than like AppleScripts. Although it was meant for the common people, it was still kind of difficult because it used very sort of programming type style logic and wording. And I think Swift might be a little bit more flexible in that regard. I'm not sure though. All that being said, might be time to be looking at Apple Swift and making sure, and sort of maybe that one can do more work than AppleScripts can, which is very hard to think, because AppleScripts is like almost basically touches the it's touching the Unix shell of Mac OS basically, because it deals with it on a program basis. It sidesteps any sort of other coding that might be going on. So, and it's system wide. So this is something I'm gonna have to look into. I could not get the MP3 waiting for me, and I've created these 3 macros hotkeys that I could then apply the different filters that I need. So it's like basically it's Option Command, like bing bang boom basically. So 3 keystrokes, and it takes a fraction of the time as what it did before. We're talking like, to do this in Audacity, it actually didn't take very long. The longest was sort of waiting for the conversions to happen or the effects to be applied. And I was trying it with a 15-second clip, which is a lot different than trying it with a 20-minute clip or an hour-long clip, right? So you do have to program the computer to wait for that process to be finished before moving on to the next code fragment, right? And maybe this is another good reason why maybe Audacity can't be scripted in that way, because it's kind of difficult to gauge how long it's going to take to compress or apply the filters and functions to your audio file. All that being said, got some things done and was able to create these hotkeys. So, I mean, the workflow is a little bit smoother than it was before. Some success, some optimism. Now, going forward, I think the only other thing I was kind of thinking of is, what if? What if I spit that file out into compressor Didn't really modify anything in compressor because compressor has a built-in function wherein it will upload to YouTube and Facebook. I'm going, well, okay, if compressor is like this media encoding software that I have that is bundled, that is often goes alongside like Apple Motion, Final Cut Pro, and things like that. And so being able to do that, if compressor can do that, then it's got to be on the system somewhere. It's just something that has to be able to get done either natively or can be programmed through some code in AppleScript or something like that. So it's got to be possible. It just might take me a little while longer to get it done. DJI mic test. These are not holding up. I'm actually kind of disappointed, to tell you the truth. I wonder if I could actually return them, even though I've been playing around with them. They can. A couple days ago, I posted a mic test between the Xiaomi 11 Ultra, which is my phone, and the DJI mic that I was using. Now, I was only using one microphone. I didn't realize what you could do is actually record stereo using both transmitters. So there's two transmitters and a receiver in this box this little DJI mic setup that I got, and I was only using one transmitter before. So it records mono, and it would record to the it was the left, but I think it records mono, so you can still it can hear out of both ears, both sides, but it's not a stereo feed, so you can't deal with like a left and right channel. You only deal with one channel only, but it's still centered, right? So the sound is centered and it comes right at you from the front, rather than being left or right panned. Now, you can use both transmitters and apparently achieve that effect of the left and right stereo recording, which means that this thing should, in theory, act like a stereo microphone. I tried it out. It is not sounding like the way I thought it would. It's not sounding like the samples that I heard online, and I was listening to those different samples with different headphones, like my big headphones on the computer, and then also on through my Powerbeats, which are sort of like my main listening devices for anything sort of released commercially. And it's just the quality is not there. So what am I comparing it to? Well, I ran a couple of tests. DJI mic test. I ran it against my Xiaomi 11 Ultra. Then I also ran it against my iPad Pro without the Powerbeats. And then also again with the Powerbeats recording into a voice memo. And then I also made a track with my Zoom H4n microphone, which I'm using for the live streams of my daily digest, this digest here. And that's being recorded through OBS software. Zoom H4n takes the cake. It destroys all of them in terms of audio quality, clarity, loudness, cleanness as well. Takes the cake. DJI mic came in second, but it's very quiet. And although what that means is that with the DJI mic, I would probably have to do some post-production work to it, which is what I'm trying to avoid. Although again, as I mentioned yesterday, this is part of the whole automation process of being able to just throw it into a folder, have it modified, and then spit out as a final product at the end. The worst were the Powerbeats record. Actually, the worst was actually the iPad Pro just recording on its own. But above that was the Powerbeats Pro recording using the headphones as a microphone, and they sounded not as good as I think Apple products should sound. For all the people that you see wearing Apple like AirPods and stuff like that recording online, I think they have their separate microphones, because these microphones, they must be using them for monitors and not for microphones, because these things can't. The Powerbeats Pro, which is different from the AirPods 3 Pro, the AirPods 3 third generation, whatever it is, but these Apple AirPods are not good for recording. Good for monitoring, sure, listening to what's going on, but recording, you need a separate microphone. So all of that being said, with this DJI mic test and everything, I'm kind of going, if I can't return them, can I justify keeping them? Should I sell them? And all that being said, maybe do I invest in some proper microphones for the podcast? And we're talking proper microphones, like, a couple, not cheap microphones. This is the next issue. And then again, how much do I want to spend on this? Is there another way to pay for this? Is there another way to remedy the situation? I don't know. Or do I just keep on using the H4n and then mux that together? So mix it together with the DJI mics if I ever do any more live recordings within the studio. Very good question. This is, again, technology. I was kind of hoping that I could use these microphones for a few years. Like, I've had the Zoom H4n for 8 years already, 9 years. It's a long time, and the thing is still holding up. DJI mics, how long can I use them? Right? It's almost like if I would stop using them, or like they got outdated, I might actually feel relieved and feel better about getting a new pair. But that being the case, I'm sort of wondering if there's another ways to sort of deal with the microphone situation. Last thing, the lottery. The lottery, not the ottery. The lottery. Have you heard of this short story before? This thing has been, it's actually a pretty famous short story, in that it's one of these stories that you would read as, what would you call, in high school. We used to read these things, the short stories by Shirley Jackson. It's a very famous short story. I'm not going to ruin the ending for you, but basically what it is it's a small town in somewhere United States, and every year they do what's called a lottery, and they have to pick someone to, quote unquote, win this lottery. Now, the winner gets a special prize. I'm not going to ruin it for you, but it's not a long story. It was 7 PDF pages, I think it was, not even 6 maybe, and it's a good story. And reading it this time, I remember thinking happen. I'm like, are you kidding? That's what they just said. And keep in mind, we're reading this like other people did, but that was never a book on the high school reading list. I have a copy. I just never have read it. Maybe I did read it. I can't remember. Which one's the one with the is it the mana, and the echelons and all those? 1984. I remember that one. But Brave New World, I can't. If I did read it, I don't remember. Let's put it that way. All that being said, this book, this short story, The Lottery by Shirley Jackson. If you have a chance, take a look at it. It's not in the public domain, so I can't record it and I can't release it. I did record a version just for myself, just to sort of have it, but it's not something I can release due to the current copyrights on that short story. Highly recommended. Take a look at the short story, The Lottery. I'm sure you can find a copy online. Oh, and why did this come up? It was just one of these things that, have you read The Lottery before? I'm like, The Lottery, like that short story that from like high school? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, it's been a while. Let's take a look. And so me being my audio podcasting self, I was kind of like, well, let's record it. And I knew actually it wasn't public domain before reading it. But then I'm like, I'll read it anyway. Let's just get it done. That way I'll have a copy, right? All right, folks, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for listening. I appreciate it. Hope you guys are doing well up there and are able to stay warm here in the Beijing, even though some of the relations are frozen over. And of course, oh yeah, if you can get a NAT test, good luck. Those things have disappeared now, haven't they? WTF is going on there. The politicians get to travel, no masks and scoldings allowed, but NAT tests? Good luck finding them. All right, folks. Show notes, tracks, and vids up on my website, stevensersky.com. Thank you very much for listening. We will do this again. Have a good one. Bye-bye.